Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Today I would like to challenge the premise held by many that automation of certain work functions is somehow nefarious because it allegedly leads to the loss of jobs. Well, the first and most salient point is it doesn't. The fact is, there is always more work that can be done to improve human well-being. And if some of that work can be done more efficiently through automation, that just frees up human capacities to address the other challenges that we have. Let me give you an illustration. Prior to about the mid-19th century, more than 90% of all people in the world were employed on farms as manual laborers. So they were directly involved in the production of food. Now, in Western countries, that percentage is closer to about 1%. So what happened? Did we have a massive spike in unemployment? Do we have more people starving or more people in poverty? No, quite the contrary. We're able to utilize many fewer people to grow a lot more food, higher quality food, that not only allows most people in the Western world to subsist from day to day, but to actually have a decently nutritious diet. And as a result, people in the West, on average, live a lot longer, have fewer illnesses, and aren't exposed to the occupational stresses of manual farm labor. The people who do work on farms benefit from a lot of advanced technology, from machinery to pesticides to genetically engineered crops that are resistant against a variety of diseases and pests. And what that means is higher standards of living for all of us, because labor-saving machinery came about. It was really a gradual process. There was some of it even in the Middle Ages, but it really accelerated during the Industrial Revolution and then during the 20th century. This labor-saving machinery enabled people's energies to be diverted elsewhere toward the creation of other products, other technologies, and other services that are useful. And likewise, if a particular technology makes a certain job function obsolete, the people aren't just going to disappear. Some of them are going to move into related occupations that they know. Some of them are going to need to retrain themselves altogether. And some of them might struggle in the short term. But in the long term, the adoption of the technology will raise standards of living for all. And then the idea that there will be fewer jobs on net is completely false, because in the past, as automation has taken hold, human populations also grew. Human populations could be sustained at larger levels because the capacity to produce food improved, as well as other improvements for standards of living occurred. Better sanitation, better medical care, fewer hostilities. Generally, the crime rates have fallen, and with the exception of a few highly destructive wars in the 20th century, the death toll from wars has been falling, and it's definitely been falling as a relative proportion of the population. So, with all of these improvements, a larger population could be sustained, and most of these people are still employed. So automation thus far has not resulted in the loss of jobs. Now, what automation does is actually provide a very welcome benefit, and that is it frees human beings from the types of jobs that are often very physically strenuous. They can lead to a high rate of injury. They can lead to occupational diseases. They can lead to shortened life expectancies because of repetitive strains, and it channels more human labor into occupations that require creativity and judgment and knowledge. So the human mind becomes better utilized. If you live in a highly automated society, you're a lot less likely to be a drone. You're a lot more likely to be an independent thinker and to have employment that utilizes your mind and your ability and need to make decisions. Think about it this way. What is the condition that is most fitting for man as a rational creature? Is it to stand even at an assembly line and do the same task over and over again, put in one screw on a car? Or is it to move a farm implement around in order to till the soil or plant some seeds in a back-breaking kind of condition in extreme heat sometimes, working from sunrise to sunset? Is that the fitting human condition, or is it to think and create something new, to have an idea in one's mind that leads to the development of some sort of product, which a machine can produce, that can then directly improve people's standards of living? I think the second vision is a lot more appealing. But if we want all of us to be able to do the creative work, we need some way to have the menial work done, because clearly something has to grow the food. Something has to manufacture the products we rely on. Would you rather that it be machines or other human beings? I would rather that it be machines. I would rather that all of my fellow human beings be able to engage in that creative work and build up their minds and stay healthier and live longer and be more civilized as a result of having more time devoted to intellectual development rather than sheer manual labor. I have nothing against the people who perform manual labor. Perhaps that is their best option in the current economy. But if it were possible for all of them to do intellectual and creative jobs, wouldn't that be better? Wouldn't that be better for them as well? And yes, some of them would need retraining. But there's a fallacy in contemporary culture that states that learning is finished once one has graduated from an institution of formal education, and that is a mindset that must be broken. Not only is the formal learning perhaps of considerably less utility than is commonly thought, but also the idea that learning can ever stop is something that needs to be combated. Learning must be lifelong, including professional development. There's no way in an economy that is so complex as ours, where the opportunities are consistently developing and changing, where technology continues to develop and accelerate, there is no way that a static set of skills accumulated by the time one is 18 years old or 25 years old or 30 years old would continue to be of the same value as time goes on. And this applies to everyone, no matter what work you do. If you serve burgers somewhere, or if you're an executive, no matter what work you do, continual learning, continual self-improvement is key. But that's good. It means you do not stagnate as an individual. It means that you do not get to define yourself by some very fixed and rather limited set of skills. It means that you and your mind are continually evolving and becoming something better, something more capable. That is progress, that is improvement, that is what we should all strive for. And automation helps us get there, because it means that we are not stuck doing the same things over and over again. And we do not have to divide our society into people who have the luxury to engage in creative work, with the few creative jobs that might be available in a less developed economy, and people who are relegated to the position of manual labor. And like it or not, in a society where there is that division, some people are treated as being less than others. Well, I don't want that. I support a natural hierarchy that might emerge as a result of free market interactions, as a result of people voluntarily exchanging goods and services, a kind of natural aristocracy of talent, as Thomas Jefferson put it. But I also support a situation where everyone's condition improves. So I would be happy being in a society where I had the worst condition of any person, but in absolute terms, my condition would be 10 times better than it is right now. And that's also a possibility that automation can bring us. The poorest Americans today and the poorest Europeans today have a much higher standard of living than some nobles did during the European Middle Ages. And why is that? It's because of technology. It is because of all the labor-saving devices that we have. And that, hopefully, is going to continue unless political forces and Luddites put an end to it. And this is why we need to appreciate the value of automation and how it improves our standards of living. My last comment on this issue will be, who says that the value we should strive for in an economy is jobs as opposed to prosperity or high standards of living? Why do people need to work at all? Well, people need to work in order to create something that allows them and others to have a certain standard of living, to fulfill some of their needs or wants or aspirations. What if some of that could be done by machines? Well, it means that people need to put in less work to fulfill those needs, wants, or aspirations. And at that point, people can go in one of two ways. Either they could say, okay, now there are other needs that we can fulfill, and we need to work for those. Or they can say, look, there are all of these good things, let's enjoy them for a while, and maybe work a little bit less. Isn't that why in most parts of the Western world, people work on average 8 hours a day now, instead of 12 or 14 or 16, as was often the case in pre-modernity, when people had to work that long just to grow enough food or to earn a living wage that would sustain themselves? Isn't that also an important value, to have some leisure? Maybe in the future, the typical workday will be even shorter. Maybe most people will only work 6 hours or 4 hours, but their output will be greater, they will produce more, they will have higher standards of living than we do. And isn't that good? Because then they would have more independent time in which they could improve themselves, or they could rest, or they could spend time with friends and family. Why is that at all objectionable? And again, that is another benefit of automation. So ladies and gentlemen, I want to reiterate that automation is your friend. Technology is your friend. And if you want to live better, then you should embrace it. If you want more jobs, and if you see jobs as just an end in and of themselves, irrespective of the quality of work, then you might abolish all technology and require everything to be done by hand. But even though that would be a society of full employment, from sunrise to sunset, and maybe even into the late hours of the night if you can scrounge together enough wax for a candle, would that be a world worth living in? Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.